What's up, everybody? Welcome to Down and Dirty with Michael Julian. I'm your host, Michael Julian, and on this show, we're getting raw, real, and leaving no stone unturned. Each week, I sit down with some truly remarkable people who have overcome immense challenges and adversity in their lives. Whether it was childhood trauma, discrimination, mental health struggles, or any other obstacle thrown their way, my guests aren't just survivors, they're warriors who took their pain and turned it into power. They'll share their unfiltered stories and the life lessons that helped shape them into the forces they are today. So get comfortable because we're about to get down and dirty. You'll hear firsthand how our darkest moments can unexpectedly light the path towards our greatest growth and success. Let's dive in and prepare to feel inspired. So I had a fabulous time this last weekend. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It was nice to go out in your yacht.
Yeah.
Never seen your boat before. It's pretty cool. And It is a certified yacht.
Yes, indeed.
It was very fun. Thanks for your hospitality. Nice little whip around the marina and the bay there.
Yeah, that's like my favorite thing to do.
I honestly would love to get a yacht, boat, whatever, down there. And I mean, it's an hour away. It's 3.5 hours to my river house.
I know.
Or an hour away unless I'm hitting traffic.
And 20 degrees cooler.
Yes. Yes, it is.
It's a much more enjoyable day, just doing your thing.
Yeah.
Only thing I say, if you're looking at a boat, it's like go out with people with boats because everyone has a purpose. You want to make a condo out of it. You want a little bit bigger boat.
Yeah.
You want to get Catalina faster. You want a little bit of smaller boat.
Yeah.
Because, so there's just some time to pick because you don't want to be disappointed or make a bad choice.
Right. No, that makes perfect sense. Well, you test drive different cars before you buy one typically.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's my recommendation.
Well, Bob Fininis, my good friend, my old dear friend. And when I say old, I'm referring to your age. Let me
finally,
start.
I can't believe I'm here. How'd I get this old?
Let me start by asking this question. How is it for your entire life your nickname has been Bob Noxious?
Not my entire life.
Oh.
That was a term I picked up after I got out of the Navy. Or a name I picked up, not a term. It's a name.
Your nickname.
My nickname from my Havasu posse, the jet ski race crew. I was a little guy growing up and got picked on. And when I joined the Navy, I grew big enough to where when I got out, I was looking for some vengeance or some payback. And so I had to put the hurting on some people for whatever reasons I thought. And my overall character and loudness and craziness, they became Bob Noxious. And I was quite a bit of their guys' buddies, I guess, and some not so much.
Would you say one of your character traits that may have attributed to this nickname would be that you are completely unfiltered, filter free, if you will?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about completely. I'm sure there's some stuff left there, but
add vodka,
pretty unfiltered.
Add vodka and iced tea.
Completely unfiltered.
Yeah,
yes.
completely unfiltered.
Yeah. True.
I've been there.
Guilty.
You've never offended a single person accidentally by the things that you say. The funny thing is, once they get to know you, then they're like, "Oh, he must like me to say stuff like that."
Yeah.
Well, you've got a pretty fascinating story, and honestly, I've always admired you because I think a lot of people that went through what you went through as a kid might be completely fucked up and not be where you are today. And you're pretty good where you are today. So what I want to do is I'd like you to tell me the story of little Bobby Fininis, the good stuff, the juicy stuff. But you grew up in the thriving metropolis of Lake Elsinore, California.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. What was that like?
Oh. It was crazy. It was good. I had lived on a dirt road in a mobile home with the little crank windows.
Yeah.
And they had an addition on it with the roof leaking. Single mom, smoker. All my clothes smelled like cigarettes.
Was this Big Booty Judy?
It was Gangster. No, it was Jerry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my mom, Jerry. She was not my real mom, and I did not know this until I was 26. And so that was whatever. By that time, I had a wife and a kid, and I'm like, well, whatever. I'm a man, and I'm carving this path already. So
yeah,
whatever.
Right.
What are you gonna do?
Tell me about your childhood when you were little.
Oh, well, I'm sure you want to start where you know.
Well, I want to start a little bit before that and build up to that because that is quite a story.
Well, I was illegally adopted, and 3 months old, my parents moved to Norwalk, California. I was born in Waukegan, Illinois, and I grew up in Southern California. We were in Norwalk, then we went to Cyprus, and then at 9 years old, my dad, who wasn't my dad, he was this crazy Greek truck driver that was always on speed to do long cross-country trips, and he was quite a drunk, and we had cool, fun family friends and swimming pool and all that stuff. But long story short, he murdered one of my neighbors right in the front yard in front of me. Just blew his head off with a handgun, and it was a drunken night of craziness. And off to jail he went, and then me and my mom and my sister, who was not my real sister, who was also illegally adopted, who was 6 years older than me. We all ended up in Lake Elsinore because it was the only place my mom could afford to live. And so that's where we ended up.
What led up to this murder?
Oh, a drunken night at the Moose Lodge. My mom and dad's, typical activity on a Friday or a Saturday night. And they come home and duke it out in the front room, the standard weekend fist fight. Pretty normal.
Yeah, standard.
And as a kid, I just turned up the TV, and then one night, our neighbor, he lived behind us. He was our good family friend. I took karate with him. He was 18. I was 9. His name was Russell. And he was sleeping on the couch, and I was sleeping on the floor in the front room. And my mom and dad were in a gigantic fight. And he wasn't having it. And he went down the hallway and knocked their bedroom door open and said, "Hey, knock it off." And then
Your buddy said that?
Yeah.
To your parents?
Yeah. Yeah, it was bad, I guess. I didn't really think nothing of it because it was normal to me, but not to him. So we, my dad came out and sat on the couch, and I said, "Where are you going?" He says, "I'm going to the truck to get a cigarette," because he always parked his truck at the Moose Lodge a couple miles away. And then he had already told Russell to get the hell out of there.
For yelling at him.
And so Russell he didn't get the hell out of there. He stood in the front yard, and he just, he told me he was going to get a cigarette. And then I remember hearing the guy yell, "Hey, fuck you, motherfucker."
Your buddy Russell said this?
Yeah. And then the old
man.
man.
How old was Russell?
He's 18. And he just snapped. The old man snapped, ran to his gun, ran to his room, grabbed a gun. And I'm on the couch, and I open the blinds, and I just watch him point right to his head and blast him. And when you're little, I was 9 years old, and I watched, and I didn't process it. And I'm like, first thing I thought, he pulled the trigger, and I heard the gun go off. And then I thought he was still standing there, and I go, "Oh, he missed." And then I saw him put the gun down, and then I just saw the guy hit the ground. And I remember his shoes falling out of his hands into the planter box next to our garage. And I was like, "Oh shit, that was it." And then I took off running to my bedroom, into my impenetrable lead shield blanket of my bedroom, and just buried myself in my covers. And then, I remember I could look through my blankets and see my dad running back and forth to the bathroom with rags and trying to clean up the blood. And there's blood everywhere. And it was bad.
And Russell was 18 and you were 9.
Yeah.
And Russell was your friend or your dad's friend?
Well, he was our family friend, and he was going to help my dad unload a truck the next day because my dad was a long haul trucker, and he could hire guys on the weekends to unload. So Russell was going to make some extra money. So he stayed the night at our house so he could get up early to go with my dad to get paid to unload the truck. So if he would have been out at his house, he would have been okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I remember we went to my aunt's house, and I asked my aunt, I said, so I got up in the morning, and I wasn't processing the death, and going, "So is Russell at the hospital? Can we go visit him? What's going on?" And "No, honey, Russell's dead." And I'm just like, "So he's dead, like he's not coming back?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like, oh, okay. So, and that's how I remember it as a child. I don't replay the scene over and over in my mind through my life. It was just a piece of my life that I never forgot about it. Okay, that's what it was,
What was the next week or two like for you? I mean, you had to go back to school at some point.
Yeah. Getting the stink eye from the neighbors, that kind of stuff, going back to school. But then we just sold the house pretty rapidly, and we ended up moving to Lake Elsinore, and we fit right in.
Well, now we're not saying anything negative about our neighbors in Lake Elsinore, but you do. So no. Wow. Well, that's a crazy story. How has that affected you since then? How has that affected you?
Well, that's hard to tell. I mean, my mom took me to counseling in Hemet as a child. She was doing the best she could. We were broke as a joke, and but she took me to counseling, and I think it destroyed her worse than anything, because I'm pretty positive she had a nervous breakdown, but she had to hold it together. She wasn't afraid to be a hard worker, and so she made money, and we were able to get by, and it was kind of tough. And so like I said, I did counseling as a child, and I have a hard time imagining me being any different with or without that being in my life, because I've just been me for so many years. And me, I'm not afraid to work hard. And I've just been an animal my whole life when it comes to work and making money and wanting things like every other person from our generation. That had nothing and was like, this is, when I moved out of my mom's mobile home when I was 18, I joined the Navy, and I said, I'll never live in a mobile home.
Yeah.
And I'll never smoke in the house, because I'm tired of my shit stinking like cigarettes.
Yes, I feel you there. I had the same growing up.
Yeah. So
that's crazy. What was your teenagers like? You went to Elsinore High?
Yep. I was a wrestler in Elsinore High, raced motocross, had some good people around me. I used all my buddies' dads as a real dad, pretty much. Luckily, I had good friends with good dads, and they were always cool and took me under their wing, and we did things as groups, and we were hunting and fishing, and a lot of good people around me that I was very thankful to grow up in Lake Elsinore and have those friends and the good people there.
Yeah.
So
one thing that I have, and I'll get into our history a little bit, and I'm sure you'll have some fun stories to tell as well. But one thing that I've always said about you to myself and those close to me is that you're probably the most well-adjusted person that has gone through something that bizarre, or maybe it's the way you deflect and your ego defense mechanism to appear normal and be nice to everybody. But, people joke about we can't go anywhere in town without me knowing somebody. We can't go anywhere on the Western Hemisphere together without you knowing somebody.
Yep.
You know everybody. You make friends everywhere you go. In fact, sometimes we'll go out and I'll be sitting at the bar by myself while you're making friends with the 10 people around us. And I'm going, oh, Bob's being Bob, you know?
Yeah.
But what do you attribute that? I mean, where did that come from?
No clue. Your guess is as good as mine. I like people. I like making new friends. I'm always interested in what they got going. Like, what are you doing in life and how did you get there? Or, what fortune or misfortune or whatever the case may be. People just interest me.
Yeah.
And, even it doesn't matter who it is, and if, you have a jealous significant other and they're like, why are you talking to that lady? You're trying to sleep with her or whatever. It's like, no, that's not it at all. It's just, she kind of in the same business I am, or her husband is, and we took a selfie and sent it to him because we knew each other, or me and the husband knew each other.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. It's weird.
Yeah.
It is weird because I built a network through years of being in the decorative concrete business and coatings, and it's just a lot of years gone by and people known and being in the off-road world and the jet ski world and the motocross world. And there's so many paths that cross and link.
Well, something about you, I think, that makes you, and because you owned your own business, and I want to talk about that up in Reno, and you sold it for millions or $1 million or whatever, and you did really great. But one thing I think that makes you, because now you work for a huge concrete company, basically doing sales, right?
Right. It's a manufacturing company. They're Laticrete International. They're $1 billion a year company plus, and great place to work. I wish I would have done it a long time ago. It's just,
you'd have worked probably a little easier because you worked your ass off.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't know how to not work hard. So it's like, you just work hard, you get things.
Yeah.
It's the way it goes.
Well, I think the reason you are such an incredibly good salesperson, and I don't think this is a deliberate tactic, you find commonality or common ground with everybody you talk to. Do you remember where we met and when?
Yeah. We met at the Bank of Mexican Food in Old Town Temecula, and you were wearing a Spartan
shirt or jacket or something.
A hoodie from the Spartan races, and I was in the Spartan race, and I said, "Hey, did you and your other buddy?" I go, "Did you do the race?" And you said, "No, we're doing the security." And I go, "Well, I'm doing the race." Well, then we made best friends that day, and we did the next Spartan race together.
Yep. That's absolutely correct.
It was funny.
We literally did the next Spartan race together.
Yeah.
We were sitting there drinking beers on the patio of this Mexican restaurant in downtown, Old Town Temecula. And you just turned to me and saw something that just sparked a conversation. And we started talking about the Spartan. And literally within an hour, I think we were making plans to go to the river together because you were a river rat too.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I know all your neighbors there from years of water skiing and jet skiing. And it was pretty funny.
Yeah. And we just pretty much attached to the hip for years after that until we both started to finally actually grow up and spend time with our girlfriends and stuff like that. But
you speak for yourself.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. But everywhere we go, we will be in other cities and somebody knows you. You just connect with people and apparently have a really good memory, much better than mine because I'm terrible with faces and names.
I don't know how that happens either. It is weird. My memory is freak.
Yeah, it is. It's a good thing though.
Yeah.
So
it's in handy.
So your teenager year, we were both wrestlers. That's something we talked much about.
Yeah.
High school. What was that? Well, I know that you were a big strapping young lad in high school.
Yeah, no.
So all the seniors were trying to get you back there behind the hay bales when you were a sophomore and freshman and stuff. But what was your high school?
Oh, I got my ass whipped in high school. I was a little dude, man, real little. So I think my sophomore year, I was the 98-pound varsity guy. And then my junior year, I was 105. And then senior year, I think I made it to 119.
When did you spring up to 6'3" or whatever you were?
I jumped 6 foot, but I joined the Navy and went in August of 86 at 165 pounds. And I got out when I was 22. I weighed 185 and I was in really, really good shape.
What was your job in the Navy?
Machinist mate. I worked in the engine room. We ran all the the main engines for the ship, made all the ship's water, steam-driven generators, oil pumps, missile launcher compressors, that kind of stuff.
What ships were you on?
I was on one. It was USS Fox CG-33. And Navy saved my life. Literally, you grow up in Lake Elsinore, you go to college, you go to jail, or you go to the military. And I couldn't afford to go to college, and I definitely didn't want to go to jail. So I just joined the military.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
Well, I love that message because there's a lot of people out there, especially these Gen Zers, that could use the military, but they'll never, ever see the inside of a uniform.
Yeah.
Just not what they're made for.
It's sad. It's a sad world today. I think every kid turns 18, regardless of his situation, unless he's just murdered somebody.
Yeah.
You go to boot camp for 2 months, period.
Yes. Or just like in Israel, you spend 2 years in the military before you start your adulthood because that makes you an adult.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I wish that's the way it was because we need that. Our country needs it. I don't know what even word to say about how I feel about the future or the conversation I have with some of these younger kids. But what I do notice with some of them is I look at some of these 20-year-olds today and they're just going to use the 30-year-olds for traction because they're the ones some of them are starting to get it and the 30-year-olds ain't. And
I agree.
They're just going to get ran over.
I totally agree.
And I have real examples of that. And so that's why I have that feeling, you know?
I agree. My 22-year-old daughter and 24-year-old son, it reminds me of the Dana White speech you see on Facebook where he talks about, I told my kid, you're just going to, something paraphrasing, bulldoze over your peers because this generation is so fucking weak.
Yes.
You're going to be able to excel. And that's exactly what my kids are doing because they were brought up with a very strong work ethic, ethical integrity, and they don't think the same way. And they do not mind hard work because they see the fruits of their labor.
Well, and I think they have an advantage that they don't even realize is that their competition is almost nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe don't have a clue. Maybe it's more than I think what it is. But I think if you get on top and you stay on top, you can just keep on rolling because the competition is not doing that.
It's getting weaker.
Yeah.
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 It's getting weaker. So after, okay, so then you get out of the military and what happens?
I moved to Lake Havasu. I knew for sure I was going to die in some sort of road rage incident in Southern California because I'm pretty, strung high. And I found Lake Havasu and I fell in love with it. And I started doing a lot of water skiing. I got deep into barefooting and I bought a house there when I was 22 for $63,000. And I was like, yeah,
baller.
Yeah, check me out. I thought it was funny too. My friends would come visit or acquaintances from school and they'd be like, so this is your parents' house, right? And I'd be like, no, this is my house. And how did you get a house?
What were you doing to earn that money?
I started off at the sewer treatment plant for the city of Lake Havasu for $7.32 an hour. And then I worked at the fire department as a paid on-call firefighter for the city. So kind of a little double dipping, but I'd get, the weekends on my days off, I would take those spots. And then I worked at Kokomo's as a bartender.
Kokomo's.
My boy Dallas, we went to Lamaze together and, I was kind of a Bob Noxious there and he was my bro and I'd get in fights and get in trouble. And he'd say, hey, listen, man, why don't you go to bartending school and you can leave here with money, sober, and, things will be better for you. And I'm like, okay, I trust you. I love Dallas, so I do what he says. To this day, we're still friends. Dallas is great. Him and his brother, Danny.
That's fun.
And then I worked for Gary at Jet Trim, putting jet ski mats on jet skis. And then I built some houses. And I mean, it was like I was Jamaican, man. I had five jobs.
Yeah.
You had to be.
Yeah.
You had to be. The old
Fire
joke.
these bad boys up.
All right.
That is great.
The old joke in Havasu is if you want to be a millionaire in Havasu, you bring $2 million with you when you move there.
Because you lose one or what?
No, because it's almost impossible to become a millionaire there.
Mm-hmm.
Back in those days, now everybody's a millionaire. It's just all a matter of the money being funny and fake and whatever.
Mm-hmm. Oh, finally. You're my second guest that smokes cigars, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, nice. Lucky you.
Yeah, right? To have you. We've even got a little whiskey we can fire up if we want.
All right.
And we are going to beers after this, right? I think that was the one.
We can do whatever we want.
I think that was the one thing that you said I had to do is buy you a beer afterwards if you did this.
Remember when we used to work out and just go get tequila and a beer?
Oh, and Guinness.
At Teakwitz?
With Trevor. Yeah. We'd go do CrossFit and kill ourselves for an hour. So we're completely soaked in sweat. But the endorphins were flowing, right? So then you drop a Patron and boy, that's a nice mix. Yes, I remember that quite well. Okay, so you buy a house when you're 22 years old. So kids, if you're listening, hard work gets you stuff, all right? Because you're probably not learning that at home if you're young. And then how'd you end up getting into concrete?
Well, I was the next guy to be hired at the fire department in Lake Havasu, and that was my dream, to be a full-time firefighter. And the city tried to, well, I don't know if the city did it, but they were going to privatize the fire department. Long story short, the two guys ahead of me got laid off, and I just kind of lost my fire and said, I'm out of here. And so I moved to Reno, and I started a mobile car wash business.
You were an entrepreneur from a very, very young age.
Well, our generation, I mean, we're mowing lawns, we're doing whatever,
right.
We're
whatever
working, we're welding. I grew up welding and working on dirt bikes. And, I remember as a kid blowing my dirt bike up on a race and pushing it to the pits, tearing it apart, rebuilding it and making the second race. It's what you do.
Yeah. Persevere.
If you want to race.
Whatever it takes, basically,
right.
is what you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then You built this company up, had some wild times.
Well, the mobile car wash company, I built that and sold it. It wasn't a big hit, but it was cool. The reason I had sold it was because I had a truck wash also, and I had a big power washer, and I met these guys in the concrete business, and I was detailing their trucks, and they said, "Hey, you know what? You seem like a pretty sharp guy. You should come with us. We'll teach you the concrete business." And the first year I worked for them, I went to work for them. The first year I worked there, they had their best year ever. And the second year I worked there, they doubled it. And one partner wanted to make me part of his company, and the other partner's wife didn't dig that idea at all. So I started my own, and a year later they bankrupted. And I was on fire. I had a really cool company. Started with a pickup truck and a pressure washer, turned it into $2 million a year. And then my buddy Dave came along and goes, "Hey, you need to sell this thing." And I'm like, "There ain't nothing to sell." He goes, "Oh, you'd be surprised." And he was right. I did. I sold that in 2007, first part of September. In the middle of September, the construction breaker turned off, and I had money in the bank and nobody else did up there. The construction went to hell.
Timing was good for you.
Oh God, I have an angel on my shoulder for sure. Mm-hmm. For sure. I'm a lucky guy.
Yeah.
So,
well, I don't know the exact wording for the saying, but I think it has something to do with the harder you work, the luckier you are.
Mm-hmm.
Something to that effect.
Absolutely. I believe that.
Yeah. And now I will say this, and this is not a commercial for you or the concrete, but I've seen the stuff you've done. And I had no idea people would pay this kind of money to polish and color concrete. But I've seen some of the pictures of the work you did. And I didn't even know you could do that with concrete.
Right.
Like, it is glorious, beautiful art, like nothing I've ever seen before in freaking concrete. What's the story there? How does that work?
Man, it's just the world of concrete has just come so many miles. And I was fortunate enough to be surrounded by some guys that were like the godfathers of staining concrete, like the first guys of America to do it, and the first guys stamping concrete, and all the things they're figuring out they could do. They could color it, you could grind it, you could polish it. And I started polishing concrete in the late 90s when nobody had a clue. There's a couple guys around that kind of had it figured out because they transitioned from the terrazzo world, because that's what you do to terrazzo with the machines, is basically you polish them, but they didn't take it all the way to high polishing. They would just take it to a halfway through and then seal it with shiny sealer so it looked polished, like airports and train stations and that sort of thing. Well, then the concrete thing took off like crazy. And I wouldn't say that I was a pioneer as far as marketing, like, "Hey, check me out, I polish concrete." It was like, no, we're doing this getting down to make money. And we were doing it, and just accidentally became these guys that out of Reno, of all places. Yeah. The next thing you know, I was doing all the Old Navies on the West Coast of just grinding them and sealing them, or they have a couple different techniques, like one called shot blasting, and sealing them. And then people are like, "Well, where's this guy coming from?" And then I get a nickname, Reno Bob.
Yep.
Reno Bob.
You're still in my phone as Reno Bob.
Yeah. And that's where that came from. And that's where it ended up. And I had a team of guys that we would just roll into town and just work 24 hours straight and didn't have a care in the world. We're here to get it done so we can get back home.
I remember times I'd call you to say, "Bob, what's going on? Let's go have a beer." And you go, "Sorry, man, it's like 6:00 in the evening," and you were getting ready to start your day or your day, because whatever business you were working on was open during the day, it closed at night. So
right.
You would literally, they'd close down, you'd move everything off the floor and start working and work all night.
Yeah. That was a lot of days, man, like that, and I always laugh because I never had to fire anybody. I just work them to death, and they just leave.
Yeah.
And be like, "Oh, another one down.
Yeah.
Next."
And the money was obscene. I mean, you've told me what the cost of some of these floors, and I couldn't believe. I don't know what it would cost you to treat or do anything else to the floor if you did anything else. Well, I mean, unless it was marble, but I couldn't believe people. It was almost more expensive than flooring.
Well, you take like Old Navy, for instance. Their deal is they just want their doors open because they figure, it's $20,000 a day in revenue or whatever their number is, depending on where they're located. So Once they get a building, every day that door ain't open, it's 20 grand. And I'm literally putting sealer on, and they're rolling racks through my wet sealer to put clothes on to get the doors open. And they have what they call the LDLs. Like if you're late on getting your floor done, they start back charging liquidated damages.
Right.
And I never got hit with it ever. We just got it done.
You should have built in some kind of bonus if you got it done early.
Well, they were pretty well fattened up already, and that's why the money was there, because they didn't mind paying. They just wanted to get it done.
Yeah.
But
all right. So you sell your company up there, and then how do you end up back here?
Well, I took a couple years off. I was married. I thought I was Eddie Van Halen, and I was in my mind. I was snowboarding every day. I was traveling around the world doing whatever. I did some technical support for some manufacturers, and I basically spent all my money. I spent it all.
Well, you were a young guy that got a young guy that went from being poor to rich, and didn't know how to manage that, which is a story that time and time again we hear.
Well, and the moral of that is I found out real quick, it's a whole lot easier to make it than it is to keep it.
Yeah,
and it's true. But nonetheless, I had fun. I got lots of good stories.
Yes, you do.
Met a lot of people probably then too. That's how I got my network so big. But and then I had guys I do work with in LA that were very interested in learning how to polish concrete, and they didn't. And so they hit me up every month after I sold my company. Come work for us. Come work for us. Come work. Well, after about 2 years, I came to work for them, and I'm pretty sure they would agree they are where they are now because I came and gave them some juice on how to polish concrete. And I was a project manager for them for 6 years, and I'm still best friends with them, and they're like family just every day still.
Yeah. You have a lot of still friends.
Yeah. Lifelong friends.
Lifelong friends. And that's rare. I mean, I've got friends that I've had for decades, but friends can come and go for a million different reasons. So to stay in contact and remain friendly with people, it's not easy with the lives that we have and the world we live in,
I still hang out with some of my friends from elementary school. I remember one came to work for you, and you called me for a reference, and I'm like, yeah, that's my boy. Like, okay, he's hired.
Yeah. God, have I met a lot of people from Elsinore because of you.
That's funny.
What are your, you have, we can get into your life now, which is not sucky. Besides your yacht, what do you like to do for fun? I know you travel.
We travel a lot, my wife and I. Renee, she's the best thing ever. Yeah,
she's pretty great.
I love being in my boat. We got a boat in the harbor. We said we wanted to get one. We got one, and it's just. But I mean, we've been up and down the river. We've had river boats. I'm just tired of the fight out at the river, and I'm tired of the heat.
Yeah,
the ramps, getting on and off the launch ramps, and all that kind of stuff. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But we've been in the off-road world for a long time, just sort of side by side, and not really serious racing or anything. But we've had a lot of fun banging through the desert. Lake Jody, you've been up there with me, and by Barstow, Newberry Springs.
Yeah.
And I would really love to still be on a dirt bike motoing it out with my buddies on the track, but I'm 56, and I know I see broken shoulders and bones and hospital time coming, and I'm like, nope.
You can't do it.
Nope.
You can't do it.
I'd rather be on the ocean fishing.
You're just too old, buddy.
Yeah.
I got to pause for a second because you just did something that I have to come back to. You got very choked up when you talked about your wife.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I love that.
I do. I love my wife.
I love that, Bob. These are here for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. Tell me about Renee, who, of course, I know very, very well.
Renee and I have known each other since we were teenagers, and 31 years later, I circle back and we reconnect. And the day we reconnected, we were freaking hooked at the hip, and we got married, and we haven't been apart since. And so we pretty much do everything together. And, it's like any other marriage. We have these really knockdown, drag out fights. I'm joking. Right. We never fight. We never argue. We do this stupid bicker thing, and then we laugh at each other because it's just stupid.
I've been there. I've seen it.
And it's pretty hilarious. But no, it's her and I are like we are two peas in a pod since the day.
Yeah.
You know, we share a brain half the time, which is unfortunate for her because she's
she's doing all the heavy lifting.
She's one of the smartest people in the room, every room we go to.
She really, really is.
Super educated. She's in the middle of getting her doctorate right now. And she's, as you know, works for Kaiser for 33 years. And she's a year away from having her doctorate in nursing practice. And man, I couldn't be more proud. She's on fire.
And she is a powerhouse. That is a strong, strong woman.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
And frankly, I think a strong man needs a strong woman. It
helps.
It helps so much.
It helps.
Probably a stronger woman, honestly.
Yeah.
It would, the little boy in us still wants to be taken care of, but you got to respect and admire and appreciate and love the woman that you're going to allow to take care of you. And she is such a good woman. And I've been hanging out at your house before. We'll be in the backyard smoking cigars after she comes home from a 10-hour day and conferences and seminars and webinars and everything else, and then walks in and starts cooking dinner for us and cleaning while it's cooking. I mean, she's one of the hardest working women I know. And you guys are poised to have the fruits of your labor. You've worked hard. You've made good money. You've sold businesses. You get paid well to do what you do because you're kind of a master of your craft. She does the same because she's worked for 33 years and she's way up in the hospital district. And you guys are coming to a point, I don't know why the hell you haven't stopped working by now. I mean, because I think you love to work.
It's coming close. And I do love to work. And so does she, and it's circling back on what you're saying about her coming home and doing all the stuff she does. It's like her hidden secret that not a lot of people really pay attention to is she has this way of just making whoever she's with feel like the most important person. Like she takes those seconds and minutes of every person. And it cracks me up because we go back and forth about, well, we got to stop and get a card for such and that. And I'm in the car going, we don't need a card.
Yeah.
And she's like, shut up. We're getting a card. Now pull over.
She's very thoughtful.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It don't matter who it is.
Yeah. And it's natural. It's not forced
Absolutely. At all. Yeah. She just loves everybody and it's great.
Yeah.
And she loves me, luckily. So there's that.
Well, there's a lot of reasons for love. Right. I love you, Bob. A lot of people love you, actually. So now you've got your beautiful home and your little oasis in the backyard and your little yacht down in Oceanside Harbor. What's next? You said it's coming. What's next? What's the plan?
Well, my little plan, I'm not much of a planner or a goal type guy. I let things flow and roll how they come. And I just attribute that to hard work. If I have a little bit of a goal that I'm going to set something on, then I'll do it and I just make it happen. So right now I'm working on my captain's license.
Yes.
And so that's for boat captain. And I'm going to start off with my
Not starship captain.
Not a starship. I'll drive it. They let me, I'll run it. I don't care. Trying to get my captain's license, which I'll get. And then, that allows you, they call it a 6-pack and you can take 6 people fishing and have, X amount of deck hands. And then after so many hours, it's all Coast Guard approved. You got to swear in, from what I understand, it's almost like taking an oath, like you're in the military when you get that license, that if you are ever called up to man a boat at time of war or volunteer your boat, it's going to war and so are you.
Yep.
And so I think it's cool. I'm into that,
That's very cool.
And so after the 6-pack license, you can get a 25 ton, a 50 ton or 100 ton, and I can run those big boats. And, even out in like Oceanside Harbor where we hang out, there's people just happy to pay a captain $800 a day to drive them around in their own big boat so they can get wasted and not have to, they just party all day.
Which you would do for free.
Yeah, absolutely.
You did it for us on Saturday.
I know. Yeah, I totally would, and I'm like, I'm down. That's my retirement job, or hauling boats for people. I got a nice heavy duty pulling truck and I don't mind pulling the boats around and doing that kind of stuff. So there's always something to do,
Yeah.
When you're in that environment, things just pop up and then a whole nother network of wires start growing roots everywhere. And the next thing you know, you're busy and then you turning people down and they're mad.
Yeah. So then what's literally 5 years from now, what's that look like for you and your wife? Because she might be done. I mean, is she just going to keep going?
She'll be done. No, her goal is to be on teaching online for some universities with her doctorate, so she can teach nursing, and we can be anywhere on the boat, and as long as you got internet, you're good to go. Or we're thinking maybe a condo in Reno, so I can be close to my grandkids and my oldest daughter up there, and who knows? Or just travel in our motorhome. We, like I said, we don't have any real big plan, because every time you start making plans at our age, and most people can agree with this, they talk about retirement, and your one foot's nailed to the floor. It's just a circle, and it's frustrating.
Yeah,
because you feel like you got to make a decision, and you really don't have to.
Yeah,
so you never do.
So you don't know what 5 years from now looks like?
Absolutely not. Those are just thoughts and things,
Well, you seem pretty happy wherever that current takes you. So whatever, even if it's the complete opposite, I can see you enjoying it. But like you said, I mean, she could get one of those Starlink minis on your boat and literally work from wherever,
right?
While you're up there drinking a beer, fishing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm catching as many fish between now and the next 5 years. I'm going to keep a tally, and next time we talk, I'll be like, "Here's what I'm up to."
All right, I like it.
That's my goal.
Okay.
Fish.
All right. Some guys put notches on their headboard. You're gonna count your fish.
Want some fat yellowtail tuna.
I love that. Love that. Hi, everybody. As you know, I'm Michael Julian, and I'm the creator and founder of the Alive Active Shooter Survival Training Method and Program. And Alive is today's sponsor for my podcast. So you know, ALIVE is an acronym. It stands for Assess, Leave, Impede, Violence, and Expose. It is Run, Hide, Fight 2.0, the new and improved method. We have certified over 290 instructors in 6 countries, and we're certifying new ones every month. If you are interested in becoming a certified instructor of the Alive Active Shooter Survival Training Method, please reach out. We'll give you all the information you need, and we have a class at the end of every month. We would love to have you in our 2-day course, and then have you out there teaching the world the best way to survive an active shooter. And as a sponsor of the show today, if you call and would like to either get the active shooter training or you want to become an instructor, mention my podcast, Down and Dirty with Michael Julian, and we'll give you a 10% discount on either way you want it. Thanks for staying tuned, and we'll see you soon. So I poured us a little whiskey, a little Blanton's.
Yes, indeed.
To toast to my friend Bobby. Isn't that delicious?
That's delicious.
So I want to ask you a couple questions.
Okay.
What do you think the most important factors that contributed to the quality of your life are? Like 3 words or 3 factors or 3 things.
Hard work, honesty, and integrity. Do what you say you're going to do. Don't lie to people. No reason to lie. My aunt. Yeah. So what I want to talk about my aunt. Okay. My aunt is one of my favorite people on the planet. I got my 67 Camaro from her. She's the angel on my shoulder. And when I was a little kid, she said, "Bobby, you weren't born rich."
Good.
Oh, you're getting me.
Good.
It's hard for me to not do that. But she'd always said, if you want, you can have anything you want out of this life. She said, you're just going to have to work your ass off. Immediately, I was brainwashed. Like, okay, work hard, get what I want. That was it. And I tell my kids all the time, and they make fun of me. I said, you can have anything you want. You just can't have everything you want. All you got to do is work hard. You can have it.
Yeah.
And some of my problem is I'm a glutton. I'm like any other dude that wants everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm working hard and getting everything. Like I'm a hog. I'm going to get that trough and eat it all. Right. Yeah. And then you get older and I lived my life probably till I was 38, just completely not satisfied ever. Like no matter what it was, you could put me on a plane with the most famous person in the world for a week to hang with him, and I'd be bored after that the 3rd day. I'd be like, get me away from these guys. I'm done. It's like, I'm not sad. And so, I had to find some peace in life. And after about 38, I noticed I became satisfied, but I didn't mean to get too off track there. But my aunt really instilled in me as a child that nobody's giving you nothing, man. So
That's good stuff.
yeah.
God.
To this day, she's my angel on my shoulder.
Yeah. Have I met her?
No, she passed away a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
But I think she's the reason I have a black belt in old ladies. You can sit me down next any old lady and we're bros in 20 seconds. So it's that fast. It's hilarious.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
Any specific practices, habits, or philosophies that have helped you maintain a good life, which I think you pretty much just spelled out a few, but
yeah,
you're a very disciplined person. So is there any, particular activities or behaviors or routines that you think attributes to who you are now, besides the hard work?
Oh, that's a tough question because I always somehow circle it right back to hard work. As far as discipline, I wouldn't say I'm too much. I'm not as disciplined as I used to be by any means, and I daily talk to myself about having more discipline because you have to have discipline no matter who you are, how old you are, how big you think you are in your britches. It don't matter. You got to have some discipline.
Yeah.
Well,
you should have some discipline.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people nowadays that have none.
Right.
And
there's no consequences.
There's no consequences.
Right.
And if something happens they don't like, they'll stomp their feet and scream and yell.
Right.
And unfortunately, our society is starting to kowtow and cater to that,
Right.
which is fucking pathetic.
Right. Well, I think probably one of my biggest things is I like to teach other people what I do for a living. And I like to help other people succeed and get along. And anybody that's worked for me knows that, I'm always trying to pass the baton on to them. And my last company, I just used as an avenue for revenue, basically, just for me to have money. I wasn't building anything to sell. I had some guys working for me, and I closed it down just to get my dream job. And that's what I have now. And I literally was giving it away to 2 or 3 different youngsters, and they're like, nope, can't handle it, can't do it. And it breaks my heart. You can't even give a company away today.
Nobody wants to work hard enough to run it.
We're busting out $600,000-$700,000 a year, $400 minimum. If it's, and that's for a company with 3 or 4 people, that's.
Oh, no, that's good. That's low overhead, big profit.
Low
margin.
overhead, high profit. You can have some freedom and a guy, some 28-year-old kid that wants to just grab the bull by the horns and be led a little bit. I'm there to help and guide, and not happening. And I'm like, I'm over it. I'm out. It's like customers and the work ethic and, blown tire, truck needs maintenance, this, that, the other. It just gets old and it wears you out, man. I'm just kidding. I'm like got that wrestling mentality or motocross racing mentality, and I'm back to an individual sport for myself. That's it.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm here.
All right. So you've always been a hard worker. Looking back, what advice would you give yourself? What advice would you give that 9-year-old boy or that 22-year-old kid in Havasu that bought a house and was partying his ass off, or the 28-year-old kid that had a business that sold it for millions and lost it in 2 years?
That's easy. Invest, buy property. There was no better time to make more money than our generation if you were buying property and having the right people around you. Cut the turds out of your circle, get the good people around you. And sometimes I regret selling that big company because I watched what happened when I sold it and left with some other guys that were nothing and they became something. And I'm like, if I would have stuck around, I could have owned the world, and I would have circled myself with better people. But it's always, hindsight's 20/20. We know that. I got no regrets. I'm enjoying life. So
what place, or how do you practice gratitude in your life now?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't practice gratitude. I don't think, I'm just a good friend, I'm always here for any friend, that you need me, I'm there.
And I got a great story to back that up.
Yeah. And so I just try to give a little bit more than I take. And I hope that's enough,
Well, I think you practice gratitude a lot more than I think you realize or give yourself credit for. But so speaking of friendships, let me ask you this question first. What do friendships mean to you? Like what kind of emotions do you get when you think of your friendships and the friends that you've created and what they've meant to you?
Oh man, it's like friendships mean everything to me. They're more valuable than anything tangible. It's the little bits and pieces that you take from every personality that you get to hang out with. And if you really listen to people, you get, you can take that and listen to some of what they're using and use it in your life a little bit. And I see a lot of people that aren't doing that. You hang with them and they're doing is continually talking about themselves. And then it's like, those are people you cut out of your life. So that to me is just a little bit you get out of everybody, and I read a long time ago to be interesting, you must first be interested.
Yes.
And I believe that.
Yes.
So I'm like, hey, Mike, what do you got going on today?
Yeah.
Like I give a shit.
Yeah.
Just act like you give a shit.
But you actually do it
give a
seems
shit.
like, because
Yeah.
you're genuinely interested,
Yeah.
or you're I don't want to say fishing in a bad way, but you're fishing for information that you can then create common ground and then have a conversation. You'll have something to talk about.
Well, it's just like our friendship. There isn't much about your business I don't know, because I've asked a bazillion questions along the way as we've been buddies, and there really ain't much about mine that you don't know.
No, that's true.
And we've actually through our network. It's like you've got hired by this guy because that was a friend of mine, or people call me to do work because they see what I've done for you, and it all just intermixes, and that's how the network goes. That's kind of off the subject of the how you feel about your friends type thing, but that's just how it works.
Yeah. Well, I have so many stories, and I'm not going to tell the one where you fell out of the limousine dressed as Santa Claus or anything, or try to get or beat up those two guys that kicked the limo or anything like that. But so I remember one of the things, I think I don't know if the quintessential Bob Fininis, okay, if you will. I buy this new house 4 years ago, and I have this big, beautiful, gorgeous home, and I get divorced, and now my kids are grown, and I don't need this giant house anymore. So I decide to downsize. And I buy this kind of cute little house on a cul-de-sac with a beautiful backyard that backs up to a stream and a hill covered with old oak trees. And I love this thing, except the house is an absolute piece of shit. Because some smart, rich attorney out of Los Angeles, when the housing market took a dump in 2008, went and bought up all the houses that people were losing and rented them out. And I mean, he did the bare minimum to fix these things up to make them livable. So this house was an absolute piece of shit with no upgrades or anything. And, were you there with me when I did the first walkthrough? It was during COVID. We were supposed to sign a waiver and all kinds of shit.
I don't think so.
I want to say you were there for the very first or the second time I walked through this house.
Probably the second, because we were both. That was fast moving times.
Yeah, it was. So we walk in there, and I'd already made a decision. We're back there a second time, and every time you showed up, you had a six-pack. So we'd sit out in the front yard on folding chairs and drink beer and think about, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that.
And size up the neighbors.
Size up the neighbors.
That was good.
Absolutely true. And they were probably scared to death at that point, but it turns out I'm a pretty good neighbor.
Yeah.
I open the garage door and you walk in and you look around and you go, oh man, we got to polish this floor. I'll make this floor beautiful. It's going to be gorgeous. Let's do that. I said, okay. So within a week of me closing on the house, you got a crew over there polishing the floor, and the next day they're polishing the next flat, and they just get it down to this magical, shiny, beautiful mirror
It wasn't
that you never want to walk on with your feet wet. I'll tell you that much, because but it is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Then we walk into the kitchen, and I go, I gotta. The kitchen was an abomination. It was ugly and old, appliances and old cabinets in the floor and everything. And you go, you know what would look really, and I go, I'm going to make it industrial. I'm going to do all stainless steel and, black and, gray and stuff like this. It's going to be manly, right? And you go, it'd look really cool on those countertops is concrete countertops. Yeah. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Concrete counter? That sounds awful. No, Mike, trust me, it'll be great. You'll love it. It'll be fantastic. So you go out, you get all the wood and all the forms and all the shit you need.
Yep.
And you come back and we build these forms in the garage and we pour the cement. And you got me with this jitterbug going like this to get all the bubbles out of the new cement, right?
Yep.
We let it dry or cure, whatever the hell you call it. We take it in, we flip it upside down, and you set these countertops. And I have the most unique countertops of anyone I have ever met in my life.
Yep.
And they are perfect for the motif or whatever the hell you want to call it. For this industrial, masculine, beautiful, because I redid the entire kitchen. And I've got the coolest countertops. And that was your idea. And you didn't ask me for anything.
Nope.
And you showed up with beer, or you said, you better have beer if I'm doing the work. But either way, we always had beer.
Right.
And I got the the countertops and the garage floor are probably the nicest things in this house.
That's hilarious.
It's so badass.
It's funny. In my old days when I was a complete smartass more than I am now, I would tell people when I leave here, this is going to be the nicest thing you own. And it's, you get those snooty housewives that are like,
Yeah. And I just, everyone comments on my concrete countertops when they walk into my kitchen. It's so sick.
Yeah, they're great. They're pretty much indestructible.
Yeah. So any fun stories of our wild times together you want to share?
Oh, God.
There's so many.
Oh, man. The river.
Now, I will say I was able to pay back a little bit because you were in a relationship prior to Renee that went south. Thank God.
Mm-hmm.
So glad. Better off for it.
And you were my safe haven.
And you came and you lived with me for a month or so. I talked you off the ledge.
Oh, yeah.
But I also got to see a very sensitive and sweet side. I always knew you were a nice guy, but you were a very tender and sensitive guy. And you loved this woman because you go all in. You don't half-ass things.
Yeah.
And she didn't deserve it and kind of did you wrong.
Yeah.
And for 30 days to the day, you were remorseful and sad and wanted her back and wanted to do whatever it took. And on the 31st day, you were like, okay, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done. And it's like you flipped a switch.
Right.
That was one of the most healthy ways to deal with a relationship that you were fully invested in that I have ever seen anybody do. And you didn't look back. I know that there were still feelings. I got that. But once you realized you were wronged and you did everything you could to try and make this thing work,
right,
and it didn't work, you flipped the switch.
It's over. It's over.
And damn, if she did not suffer and suck and just wanted, once she realized how bad she fucked up, for years she wanted you back. But you know what? It doesn't work.
Nobody I know has done me a bigger favor.
Than her.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I doubt anybody ever will. That was the best ever.
That is a true story.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of fun during that time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We had good times, man. That's what it's all about. It's fun. That's pretty much my goal in life is fun.
Do you have any quotes or books that you can think back and go, that changed my life? That was a pivotal time.
Think and Grow Rich
by Napoleon Hill.
Yep.
The Bible.
Yep.
Absolutely read it 5 or 6 times.
Yeah. Oh man, there's a lot of good books.
When I say the Bible, I mean the business Bible.
Yeah.
Nothing against religion. I'm not being sacrilegious.
Right.
I always say I call it the Bible because in business that is the Bible.
Think and Grow Rich is the best book ever.
Yeah.
Oh man, I've read a lot of that. I listened to every tape by Errol Nightingale. I listened to every Tony Robbins tape. I was involved in the Equinox network marketing with this crazy bastard, Bill Gould, who was the hands down most badass salesman that ever walked the face of the planet. I mean, there's nobody that can argue that if they knew this guy. And so that was some pretty fun times. I don't know. Were you familiar with Equinox? They had the water filtration.
Of course.
So we tried that from Lake Havasu. Well, that's there's not a whole lot to feed off out there.
No.
But I went to all the trainings, and if it wasn't for Equinox, I probably wouldn't have stopped trying to be a firefighter and moved to Reno because I wanted more. And the reason I moved to Reno was because I had a wife and a daughter, and I looked on the maps. And I was like looking at LA, and I looked at Phoenix, and I looked at Vegas, and I know, hey, I know people in all these towns, and I could probably get along just fine, but I don't think they're safe. And so I'm like, Reno looks pretty cool, and it looks pretty safe. And I went up there in September, and I fell in love with the place because the weather's like 72.
Yeah.
You could work hard all day and still go to the gym and get a good workout in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's it. I was there a week. I'm like, we're moving. And I put a deposit on a house, and I moved.
Yeah. That's cool. So that was a pivotal time in your life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was like, what, 25, 27?
Yeah. What if you could do anything different or have anything different, what would it be?
Oh, I don't know what I would do different. I'm so happy with my life now. Then there's nothing that I don't have that I'm satisfied with. I'm pretty satisfied with everything. Completely satisfied. Just got good balance in my life. Fridge is never empty. AC works.
You get to go on
I
trips
can go to the
all
gas
the
pump
time.
and put a full tank of gas in.
That's expensive these days in California.
I was talking to my buddy the other day. I thought it was a riot. I go, you remember when you're like, a big gulp and a Twinkie and put the rest on gas, and you get $7 in your Volkswagen or whatever. And then when you get older, I wish I could. I almost can remember the first day I was able to fill my tank all the way, and I was so excited. I'm like, I got a full tank of gas.
Yeah, you made it.
Yeah, I'm rich.
Yeah. I got a question.
That's a big time in someone's life when you're poor.
I got a question for you. I think knowing you, and you're a very humble man. If I said, what would it look like for you to be able to say that you made it? And I think you'd probably say you've made it because you're very happy and you've got everything you need.
Yeah, I have.
But here's my question for you, Bob, and I want you to think real hard on this one. What car would you buy if you could buy any car on the planet? Because we're car guys.
Oh, right now?
Don't say a bigger truck.
No, you said car. I'm with you on the car. I'm gonna have to stick with the same one I always wanted, the Cadillac CTS-V.
Yeah.
I love those cars.
Yeah.
They're gangster.
Yeah.
I love the roar. I love the power, and it's like a Corvette with 4 seats that you can take your friends and just haul ass.
It absolutely is.
So yeah, it'd be nice to have one of those.
So what year can we plan on me getting a ride in that thing?
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have one.
No, I don't know. I got Mike. It's like I've been downsizing and getting rid of a lot of crap, and I got my 67 Camaro. I still have.
Is it finally done?
It's at the shop right now. It's still getting some stuff, some vintage air and some new headers and a cam, and it'll be ready to roll probably around September. But I've had that car since I was 19 years old. It's been sold one time. My uncle bought it brand new for my aunt, and the paperwork is in the glove box from Long Beach Chevrolet, handwritten. It's amazing.
Handwritten.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I grew up in the car because I spent a lot of time in my life with my aunt and my uncle.
Probably the back seat quite a bit.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'll tell you a funny story about the back seat of that car.
All right.
My sister and I rode in the summer to my mom's uncle's house, and it had to be like 1977 or 78. In the back seat of that car with my mom and my aunt with their beehives and their Pall Mall non-filters rolling down the road. Yep. Summertime, no air conditioning, living on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches out of the trunk of the car. And me and my sister taking turns just laying on each other, sleeping with our heads sweating on the vinyl seat. And it just, by the time we got to Illinois in that thing, we sweated so much, we smelled like piss. It was... You're a little kid. You're like, whatever,
You drove that car to...
My aunt and my mom took turns driving from Anaheim to
Illinois.
To Kankakee, Illinois.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of memories in that car, man. I will die in that car before I sell it. I'll live in it before I sell it. I've had some tough times. We didn't talk about any of my tough times as an adult.
Yeah.
I had some tough times after I sold my company, and I got to play 10 rounds with the IRS and a divorce and all that fun stuff. So I'm got a little comeback kid in me, but I hid that car for 5 years from the world, and I still have it. That makes me want to cry.
Of all the things.
Yeah, stupid car.
Well, you still got it, and now you're refurbing, and it's beautiful.
Oh yeah, my wife told me she wants to hear it go ba-bump, ba-bump, ba-bump. So we're putting a cam in it and a little juice, and
nice.
She can hear it go ba-bump, and we can go to the French Valley Airport on Sundays and have breakfast.
Right,
whatever.
Which we've done before. Now let me ask you this: Are you completely comfortable with the fact that it's not going to be stock anymore? Because it's yours, so make it whatever you want. But
I don't really care because it's never going to get sold. Everybody says something about the value, and I don't care about the value. It's the value to me.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
And my youngest daughter wants it, and so
Brooke,
before she gets it, Brooke, she's something else. Before she gets it, it's probably going to get fully LS'd out. So all she has to do is turn key, and it'll be a brand new sick ass ride for her to cruise with whatever her husband is. And if he destroys it, he will be struck down by lightning from God.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you want to tell anybody about Big Bobby, Bob Noxious Fininis that I haven't touched on?
No, not really. I hope everybody just has a wonderful life and do the right thing and hug your neighbor. Who cares if...
Don't shoot your neighbor?
Don't shoot your neighbor.
Okay.
No, it's illegal still. I really... my message, if I really had I do have a little bit of a platform. It's like, everybody needs to lay off the politics, man, and get back to being human.
Yeah.
I got family members that are on one side and I'm on the other, and I'm not a giant cheerleader of it. And I think everybody should be more loving. There's no need to create a fight or start a fight, especially when you're on a battle that you're really not on the team because you can't do anything about. You're just weak and you're just trying to start shit.
Yeah.
It's not necessary. Love everybody and just move along, have a blast, and cheer for your friends.
Yeah. I was about to ask what's the secret to happiness, but I think you just answered.
Yeah.
Well, Bob, I cherish our friendship, and I appreciate very much you being vulnerable. Well, you're pretty open about your life because it's made you who you are. So you've never really held back, but
right.
I think you might have gotten a little more vulnerable than you planned on getting today.
No, you know what, man? I'm just me. I don't care.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
Somebody's got something to say. I'll knock them out.
I know you will. Fuck. That's why. That's why I stand behind you at the bars. And you probably have been my bodyguard more than once.
No, that's funny. Both ways on that, for sure.
That's all right. Well, listen, brother, I appreciate you being on the show today. And I'm looking forward to many more adventures in the future.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right, brother.
Yeah.
Until next time, please connect with me on your favorite social media platform where you can follow me on my personal journey, including the fun stuff I do with people close to me to celebrate our lives and our victories.